Tomorrow, the president's lawyers are expected to begin their defense. One of the senators who will hear those arguments is Democratic presidential candidate Elizabeth Warren, and she joins us now from Washington. Senator, good morning.
Good morning.
So I think the topic of the day is changing minds. On the one hand, are minds being changed in the Republican majority in the Senate when it comes to the impeachment of President Trump? And in your particular case, are minds being lost in the fight for a win in Iowa? Usually at this time, you would be on the campaign trail, 4 to 6 events. Instead, you're in D.C. So let's take those in parts. Number one, do you get the sense that Republicans are listening and that potentially minds are being changed in Washington, D.C.?
Look, we have just heard an avalanche of information about the corruption of Donald Trump and many of the people around him. And the Republicans right now in the Senate seemed absolutely determined that we can't have witnesses and we can't have any documents. In other words, we can only do what had happened at the House. They want to try to hide the information. That's not right, and it's not the way a trial should go. This is what I promise. When I'm president of the United States, on the first day, I'm going to release every document. I'm going to order the release of every document that the Trump administration is trying to hide.
But, Senator, one of the ironies...
The American people have a right to see it.
Senator, one of the complicating factors here is because you're present at this trial, you are not campaigning and therefore may not be president. Are you concerned that by not being on the campaign trail, your chances are sinking in Iowa and New Hampshire?
Look, some things are more important than politics. I took an oath to uphold the Constitution. We are now in only the third impeachment trial in the entire history of the United States. Of course I am here. But I will tell you something new that's happened that I had not anticipated exactly. And that is when I first got in this race a year ago, I decided I wasn't going to do it the traditional way. I wasn't going to spend my time sucking up to billionaires and other big donors, corporate CEOs. I was going to do this by building a grassroots movement. $5 and $10 donations, lots of volunteers, because I think that's how we need to repair our democracy and build real change in this country. So now, here I am, pinned down in Washington with the impeachment trial, and what's happened is this grassroots movement on its own is saying, we'll be in the fight for you. So people have been going to ElizabethWarren.com. They pitch in $5. They offer to spend an hour on the phone doing calls. In other words, democracy itself is raising its head, Senator, in Iowa and across the nation, and it's very exciting to see.
But, Senator, in the latest New Hampshire poll, it has you trailing in 4th place. Are you concerned if you don't do well in your neighboring state, you can see the numbers there, that could seriously injure your campaign?
You know, I have not done polls since the first day I got in this race, and I'm not going to start now. For me, look, mostly it's been about a chance to get out and talk to people. And yes, that's what I'd love to be able to do. It's the face-to-face part of democracy that matters. But I'm doing my best. I'm here in Washington because that is my constitutional responsibility. And I'm grateful to everyone who's pitched in $5 or volunteered an hour and said, we're going to be out there for you. And all the people who've shown up. Julian Castro has shown up in Iowa with his brother Joaquin to say, we're going to go across the state and talk about the issues that Elizabeth Warren talks about. Ayanna Pressley is going to be down in South Carolina. I'm deeply grateful for every single person who stepped up and said, I know Elizabeth can't be here to do it, and she'd love to be able to.
I hear all the
but
people,
I'll talk
Senator,
about those
I'm
issues.
sorry for interrupting, but I'm worried
Sure.
about the time. I hear all the people you're grateful for. How are you feeling about Bernie Sanders these days? Were you surprised at that conversation where you accused him of calling you a liar on national TV, that we all got to hear it? Were you hoping that that would be a private moment between the two of you? And what is it like between you and Senator Sanders today? But first, were you surprised that we all got to hear that conversation?
So Bernie and I have worked together for a very long time, and we continue to do so. I've said all I'm going to say about this. We're in the middle of an impeachment trial, the third in the history of the United States of America.
Have you two worked out your differences?
And the Democrats are all working together on this. We want to see a fair trial. We want to see the witnesses produced, and we want to see the documents. Who's ever heard of a trial where there are no witnesses and no documents? And right now, that's where the Republicans are.
Have you and Senator Sanders worked out your differences? I'm not asking to go back. I'm asking to go forward.
No,
have you two worked out your differences?
You can ask this however you want, but you're going to get the same answer. I've said all I'm going to say about
Senator,
this.
Hillary Clinton said that no one likes Bernie Sanders and no one in the Senate wanted to work with him. Is she right?
I'm not going there. Look, we are trying right now to manage an impeachment trial and at the same time to talk about why we're running for president. And for me, the two actually come together. I'm running for president because I see an America that keeps working better and better for those at the top and worse for everyone else.
So, Senator,
that's corruption. It's about the influence of money. And that's a big part of what's at the heart of this impeachment trial.
So, Senator, I want to get you on a campaign. I want to get a question to you on a campaign issue. Just last night, there was a video that surfaced. A lot of people are talking about it today. It's of a father who approached you at an event and said, you know, it's not fair. I've saved for my daughter's college education, and now you're talking about forgiving and helping out all the people who didn't save. For Americans who are in that father's position, who felt they did the right thing and you're bailing out those who didn't, what's your response?
Look, we build a future going forward by making it better. By that same logic, what would we have done? Not started Social Security because we didn't start it last week for you or last month for you? Think of it this way. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a public school teacher. My family had no money.
Are you saying tough luck to these people, Senator?
No. What I'm saying is there was a $50 a semester option for me. I was able to go to college and become a public school teacher because America had invested in a $50 a semester option for me. Today, that's not available. And our kids have taken on $1.5 trillion in student loan debt. We have got to back that up and say we're doing better going forward, that we're not going to say the next generation has to take on $2 trillion in debt and what? The next one, $3 trillion or $4 trillion or $5 trillion? We don't build in America by saddling our kids with debt. We build in America by saying we're going to open up those opportunities for kids to be able to get an education without getting crushed by student loan debt.
All right, Senator, thank you very much. We're up against the wall here. We appreciate you being on, and we hope to talk to you later on as this trial continues.
You bet.